Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be doing a speedy analysis of Yatoro's Morphling. This hero's risen in popularity in the pro scene recently, and for a couple of reasons. The main reason is his innate. Basically, when you skill all stats on your talent tree, you get double the bonuses. This is really OP because Waveform makes you deal a percentage of your attack damage, and Morphling abuses stats as is, right? He turns the strength he gets into damage. So when you skill all stats, not only are you getting 4 damage from the agi, because you're already getting double, you're getting another 4 damage from all the strength. And you get also a ton of mana, which really helps Morphling because the hero has severe mana problems. So yeah, let's get into it. On top of that, go sign up to the Game League website, guys. I'm posting new content over there almost every day, and I'll see you there. In the early levels, guys, this hero is very basic. You buy 1-3 branches, you buy a set of tangos. Sometimes you buy a second set of tangos, but generally you don't need it because you're just going to abuse the regen tricks. And you don't want to put a lot of pressure. In the early levels, you just play for last hits. Your hero has pretty good damage if you stay low HP. And so that's what you want to do. You have very high attack speed, very high damage. So if you can not interact with the enemy, that's best case scenario. The only time he's going to use Waveform throughout this entire lane is to secure the range creep, which we see here. But you can tell after he secures the range, he has to immediately back off. It's very unfavorable to overtrade on this hero. So the main things to pay attention to in the laning stage is at level 4, you're going to be 2-1-1. This is the most common skill build. Sometimes people will go 2-0-2, but I do think it's valuable to take the point and adaptive strike. It helps you finish off kills with ganks, and on top of that, you can push people back if they're trying to kill you, right? The more strength you shift, the further you push people away, and it's pretty good even with only 1 point in the stun, and we'll see that later on. So at this point, once you get your treads, and you have Wand at your level 4, you begin to trade very effectively. You hit extremely hard with nasty attack speed, and as a result, you can just kind of trade with people, right? You see with this Bristleback, just trading with him. Very, very aggressive. And he's not gonna instantly kill the guy, but it's favorable over time, because you notice, fight ends, shift down, pop Wand, back to full, and rinse repeat. Best case scenario, you just push the wave on this hero constantly, and you get the Lotuses every 3 minutes, because not only does your Wand fully refresh your HP pool, so does the Lotuses. So it's very efficient. This play was also cool. I thought this was a really nice sequence from Yatoro, right? His Hoodwink is shifting over. He waveforms through, uses Strength Morph to push him back. It actually threw off the Hoodwink because the Hoodwink missed his spells. But yeah, the usage of the Strength Adaptive set up the kill, and the W finished it off. So that was super nice. Now, couple of things from here on out. Your item is going to be Vlad's. Vlad's is really good on this hero because Lifesteal lets you refresh your HP pool. The mana regen is really important, and the base damage increase from Vlad's works really well with heroes with high base damage. And Morphling is all base damage because of the stats. On top of that, when you skill up the talent tree later on, the all stats, it synergizes with Vlad's very, very well. Now, at level 6, do not always skill your ulti. You'll see he skills his attribute shift here. The value point is level 2. Some people even think it's level 1. Yeah, I've seen Morphlings leave it at level 1, but most put it to level 2. And at level 6, you just don't have mana to use your ult. It costs 50 to turn into someone, and then you get all their abilities, but it's your mana pool. It's not like you get their mana pool and then get to use it. It's just your mana pool. And so you really need a lot of mana. For instance, we see here, he's on Agi Treads. I guess he knew he wanted to TP in, waveform, and turn into Quap. And so in order to do this, he's on Agi Treads, and he's going to have to pop Lotuses. Unfortunately, the Quap had an Arcane Rune here, so her Blink cooldown was much lower than his, which is pretty funny. But yeah, he had to pop 2 Lotuses and sit on in Treads just to try to make that happen, which is why those plays are not exactly always the best. And a lot of Morphlings will just skill Waveform at level 7 and then eventually go back for the ulti much later on. Well, not much later on. Most Morphlings take it at level 8. So now, if this hero has good matchups, you sit in your lane for as long as possible. You shouldn't try to take Ancients. You just want to farm lane creeps and the nearby large camp and small camp and medium camps as much as you can. And that's what we'll see here. Waveforms to the camp, kills it off, securing neutral items for his teammates. Now he comes over to this camp, clears it up with Waveform, gonna return to the lane to try to help out with the gank maybe. No, doesn't even initially go over, just goes back to the lane creeps, farming it up. And that's because Morphling is really hard to kill. You can shift all the way back to max strength if you need to, and you have Waveform. So this is a dead lane hero. It's a hero that wants to AFK in its lane for as long as possible. So make sure you do that. If you decide to gank a lane, go back to your lane after. If you're thinking about leaving your lane, don't. Just stick it out. Do the best you can. It's really bad to just overcomplicate this hero and farm anything besides your lane for probably about 13 to 14 minutes. I would only really think about leaving if I'm TPing to a kill like he did earlier, or I'm hitting the twin gate and I'm trying to collapse on the enemy safe lane. He's even pressuring the tower here. You can see constantly just pushing the wave, waveforming to this large camp, farming the small camp, back to the wave, rinse, repeat. Morphling gameplay is very, very simple. Also, I want to quickly talk about the next item you can buy, or the first item you can buy, which is Manta. You can buy it over Vlad's if you need the Dispel. If they have multiple silences, or they have an Orchid buyer like Storm, buying Manta before Vlad's is a reasonable idea. But if you don't have to do that, it's much better to buy the Vlad's. The item just helps a ton. It makes a big, big difference. So eventually, once you pick up Manta style, what you're going to start looking to do is, number one, show up to fights. You now have enough mana to actually do so. And it's funny, he's actually going the off-meta build. I don't know why he's doing it this way. It's really weird. Like, he put 3 points in his W, but took stats over the second point in ult and the 4th point in W. Honestly, guys, there's a few different builds. Some people will max W, and they want to show up to early fights and throw out nukes. That's totally fine. You can do that. But if you want to play the hyper scaling right click build, then you just take stats. You leave your W level 1 so that you have the pushback, right? It's a good defensive tool. And you keep the shift at level 2. And this is most standard. Also, even at level 15, he decided to then skill up his W, which pretty unique. I believe in this specific game, the reason why he's doing it is because he's buying a very early Conda. He's extremely farmed, 6-1, super high net worth, 13k at minute 20. And when you have Conda, if you're going that item, you need max W because it lowers the cooldown. So yeah, if you're going Conda, then you need to go this route. However, there are multiple builds for Morphling. For instance, a lot of people will buy BKB next. People will buy Scotty next. They'll buy Butterfly next. If you're going a right click item, then don't max out the W. Instead, put points in attributes. However, if you decide to go Conda because you want to play more of a poke game and this build is strong, you have to max out the W. He even decided to skip agility at 15, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, at this point in the game, Morphling does a lot of burst damage. You can see this Marcy walked in to try to backdoor this tier 1, just chunks him down. Easy solo kill. Pretty straightforward. So they end up taking Roche, level 16 now. Still didn't skill agility, which is kind of crazy. Now skills ulti. I can't really get behind the skill build, guys. I feel like the agility talent at 15 is pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. It makes you click really, really hard. So it's a bit sus as fight breaks out onto the Alkir. Wow, actually just straight up kills him off. And you want to generally turn into heroes with mobility or with stuns, because that's the main thing that Morphling lacks. Generally, once you've committed waveform, you kind of get kited. And so turning into heroes like Quap, Puck, I've seen like Slark if the guy has Ags, like these are really good options. It just bursts down. Wow, that was so good. Nice bushwhack from the... That was a really nice bushwhack from the Hoodwink. Turns back into the Morphling. Gets the E off, gets the kill. And all the cooldowns are separate, right? So when you turn into someone, your main hero's cooldowns are currently shifting or constantly shifting while you're in the other hero. So you can kind of go back and forth. And that's the main way to min-max this hero. You cast the hero you morphed into, then you cast your own spells, and then you go back to the hero you morphed into, and you sort of rinse repeat, which is why heroes like Puck are really good, or Quap is really good, because it gives you mobility to kite around the fight. And the cooldowns are pretty similar between Waveform, Adaptive Strike, and something like Waning Rift and Illusory Orb, or like Quap Blink and Quap Scream. And so something he actually does is he takes Morph Duration of 15. I guess he values the Quap enough. And, you know, as I was saying, if there's something like Puck or Quap, according to Yotaro, it's a good idea to take the Morph Duration. And yeah, it's a lot, you know, it goes from 24 second duration to 40, which is really crazy. It's a huge increase. And at level 18, it's almost permanent uptime, 20 second downtime. So it's really good as just kind of this overall scaling hero. If your matchups are good, I would say if your matchups are bad, I wouldn't even necessarily put points in the morph. I think some people will just straight up skip it, which can seem crazy, but it's just how good all stats are. You can get those last 3 points by skipping your ulti and skipping points in Adaptive Strike or Attribute Shift. So for his next item, he picks up a Shadow Blade. I love Shadow Blade on Morphling. I just think that anything that allows you to get off your Conda or your Burst combo on a good target at the start of the fight is great. Like, I've even been a fan of Blink Morphling in the past, and a lot of good Morphlings will buy it last. Now, I guess part of the reason he's buying Shadow Blade this game is for the Silver Edge. Other items you can buy is Scotty, Butterfly. I would say those are the main two, Scotty and Butterfly. Even Pike is pretty good. BKB, if it's a good BKB game, is completely necessary on Morphling after Conda. So don't greed out. If it's a necessary BKB game, just buy the BKB. I'd say the most fun part about this hero is just how strong the Conda timing is. Like, heroes just get chunked by the Conda. I mean, this guy is more than dead. He could have had 500 HP. What did that deal? You can't even see because it's two different damage sources, but at this point, I mean, the Conda poke is ridiculous. And when you're sieging high ground, You should be constantly just throwing these things out. Like even here, I'm surprised he should just chuck one at the SD. It's honestly a bit of a misplay. You should just be using it off cooldown. With the Conda, it's super necessary. Like look, it's half this guy's health. I mean, that was with a waveform, but yeah, Morphling turns into the Quap. Beautiful execution. W back up. Ah, Yatoro's so safe, man. I wanted to see him dive the fountain. Look at that burst combo. This hero in the late game is it's just different. It is different. But yeah, next items you can see he has queued up. BKB, Scotty, and then he actually has Orchid queued up, so it looks like he was probably going to go into something like a Bloodthorn in the late game. But alright, that's going to be all. Just wanted to make a quick video on Morphling, kind of touch on the main key points. Other than that, this is just a very mechanically difficult hero that requires a lot of reps. I wouldn't expect to go play Morphling on my first game and do well. But okay, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!